Welcome back. Today we discuss the CIS Navy and the multiple epic warships that made up their fleet, and I gotta say that I was surprised at the diversity and capabilities of these vessels. So stay tuned to hear about the rarely explored CIS Navy. As always, make sure to like and subscribe to help the channel grow. I've talked Imperial Navy. I've talked Republic Navy. What better than to talk about the Confederacy of Independent Systems Navy? The CIS is honestly way more impressive than I gave them credit in past discussions. To be fair, the CIS had the Republic on the brink of collapse. Of course, that was all a ploy and the CIS would never truly be able to win. However, the droid army and their navy wasn't something to bat an eye at. They had some of the most diverse and powerful battleships, destroyers, and frigates of the era. Unlike the Republic, who strictly utilized their Venator Star Destroyer and smaller support vessels. Not only that, most of the CIS vessels were operated by droids and commanded by specially selected admirals or bounty hunters. The crews on most of these warships were small, and many of these vessels were mass-produced, allowing for large numbers to completely overwhelm the Republic. But let's get into these different warships. The CIS Navy's fleet was mostly made up of Munificent-class frigates. These frigates were provided by the Banking Clan, and were manufactured by Horst Kessel Driving. These frigates were 825 meters in length, and had an operating crew of 200 with up to 150,000 battle droids. Armed with 2 heavy turbolaser cannons, 2 long-range ion cannons, 26 twin turbolaser cannons, 20 light turbolaser turrets, and 38-point defense laser cannons. The 2 forward-mounted heavy turbolaser cannons were capable of blast-melting a small ice moon as well as piercing the shields of Grade 3 space stations. The CIS used them as navigational and communication ships within the fleets. They were capable of holding their own in slugging matches as long as they weren't the only vessel. The Recusant-class Commerce Guild support destroyer was built by Horst Kessel Driving and Free DAC Volunteers Engineering Corps. This light destroyer was 1,187 meters in length and packed quite the firepower with 1 prow heavy turbolaser cannon in a fixed position, 4 heavy turbolaser cannons, 6 heavy turbolaser turrets, 5 turbolaser cannons, 30 dual laser cannons, 12 dual light laser cannons, and 60-point defense laser cannons. These were mostly used to patrol and ambush Republic supply escorts. However, 4 or more light destroyers could easily overwhelm a Venator Star Destroyer. And because the Recusant class was operated by droids and had a low manufacturing cost, they often rammed Venators, destroying the Republic's bridges and crippling the ship if not completely destroying it. Now let's move on to some heavy hitters. The first being the Providence-class Dreadnought. Many fans will know this as General Grievous's flagship, the Invisible Hand, which was previously owned by Newt Gunray. These dreadnoughts had a high manufacturing cost and required a lot to operate, but were used to great effect by the CIS Navy when deployed. Mostly used as battleships, but also carriers, the Providence class had 14 quad turbolaser turrets, 34 dual laser cannons, 2 ion cannons, 12-point defense ion cannons, and 102 proton torpedo tubes. They were manned by a crew of 600 with up to 1.5 million battle droids, and a complement of 120 Vulture droids, 120 Tri-Fighters, 10 Hyena bombers, HMP droid gunships, hundreds of droid armored vehicles like AATs and multi-troop transports, as well as landing craft and shuttles. While these weren't used in mass numbers, they were effective in engagements with the Republic. The Trade Federation first used this next vessel to impose a blockade on the planet of Naboo. You'll know it as the Lucre Holt class battleship. Once a cargo transport, now retrofitted to slug it out in space, these ships were 3,170 meters of partial donut-shaped destruction. The Clone Wars era ring carrier armament consisted of 164 point defense quad laser batteries, 472 laser cannons, and 48 quad turbo laser batteries. The spherical core ship had 21 point defense quad laser batteries, 48 assault laser cannons, and 3 turbo lasers. With the increase of weapons also meant the increase of power output. Increased power made the shields nearly impenetrable. Multiple Republic Venators were required to even bring the shields down. That's not including the support frigates and destroyers that would be engaged in the fight as well. Because these were retrofitted and purchased off the black market, they were more difficult to come by. However, these battleships were powerful and hard to destroy. The final and most insane CIS naval vessel was the Subjugator-class heavy cruiser, also known as the Star Dreadnought, due to its massive size. Most fans will know of the Malevolence, which was one of two types of these class. During the Clone Wars, the Separatists had around 5 of these cruiser crushers. At 4,485 meters in length, they came armed with 500 dual turbolasers, 20 twin heavy turbolaser battery turrets, 20 twin medium turbolaser battery turrets, 200 twin light turbolaser battery turrets, flat guns, ion cannons, 400 point defense twin light laser cannon turrets, and 10 proton torpedo launchers, as well as 2 heavy tractor beam emitters. Crews required to operate this massive ship had around 23,350 officers, droids, and other enlisted crew. Subjugators carried 50 C-9979 landing craft, 1,500 Vulture droid starfighters, 550 multi-troop transports, 6,250 AATs, and over 326,000 B-1 battle droids. It's obvious how impressive the Star Dreadnought is, but it costed a lot to operate and was highly classified. The Malevolence itself utilized experimental mass ion cannons, able to cripple entire fleets, starfighters, and space stations. The Separatists were required to keep the rest of the subjugators hidden after the destruction of the Malevolence. It's clear that if these ships were used against the Republic, there would be no chance that the Republic could win, and that's not Palpatine's plan. Other retrofitted trade and supply ships backed the CIS Navy to help deliver supplies and armor where needed. Now, I gotta say that from all the different navies I've talked about, the Separatists have one of the best, if not the best. I say that only because they are so diverse in class and type, but also because they have such small operating crews. The only downside to these ships are the fact that many are controlled by droid brains, which limit their tactics and adaptability. But that's all I have to say about the CIS Navy. I was quite surprised when researching all of these and would love to see some Separatist-sided content in Star Wars. But then again, that's just because I love Clone Wars. Let me know what you all think of these vessels and the CIS. Are these better than Republic warships? Would the Republic have lost if the war continued? Like and subscribe, have an amazing day, and may the Force be with you.